It is live now, whenever you're ready to go ahead and start it. Let me just come up some just a little bit so you get your whole, okay. So you rock and rolling right now.
With I.S.U.P.K, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Established 1969, where we teach that Native Indians, Blacks, and Hispanics are the 12 tribes of Israel. We are not affiliated with any other group, any other Israelite group. It's not under I.S.U.P.K, Commanding General YAHANNA. It's not under the truth. Today's class, we'll do a Lashawan Qadash class Friday. We're going to do a pickup from what we did last week. We're going to go over some characters, 22 characters and some endings of sentences. And as I promised, the Hebrew connectors. We'll go over a few things here tonight. And hope everybody brought their books. Hope everybody brought their pencil. Because as you can see, the officers in I.S.U.P.K taught me to use a book. That's the first thing you want to use. Right, officer? Use a book, nice pencil, pen, and use to separate your notes. Make sure you have a book exclusively for Lashawan Qadash. If you're going to do breakdowns, have a book for that. But this class is going to be Lashawan Qadash. So we're going to take the time to go over some things we did last week on vowels. How many characters are endings of sentences, because if you get a good grip and idea of what the vowel signs are, the characters are that are in those words, and in the characters of the alphabet, Paleo and Assyrian, then you have a great understanding of how to enunciate, how to pronounce. It'll help you with reading your Tanakh, it'll help you your everyday Hebrew writing and or talking to each other, and Lashawan Qadash. So we're going to basically do a quick study on from where we left off, and then we're going to finish up to the Syrian. We're not going to go over all of the. Now we can do it this way. We'll go over the Paleo real quick here to refresh us. If anybody have any notes, I'll be by myself for mostly. So put your notes in the comments, and we'll try our best to answer them next week. So make sure you put them in there. So we started off on the Hebrew characters. Abagada, Hawa, Zaka, Ta, and the Paleo. Kala. Well, got to sit close together there. That's the first letter that we're going to use where we left off on, the Yah. Then we have Ka. Let you guys write that down and make sure, because we're going to keep good notes, and we're going to go over these real quick so we can get into our Syrian. Ma. Of course, we have Na. Sa. Remember how we wrote them? How we wrote the letters? The more perfected that you write them, the better off you'll be for remembering and enunciating them. Enunciating your characters, because that's what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with characters and the paleo.
Do it, man. Go to the room, man, because if that was not, let me see this. Come on.
Sa. The pa, and the taza. So far we have A, Ba, Ga, Da, going over the Paleo Hebrew. And if you remember how many alphabet that we had is, if anyone can remember, we had 22 characters or alphabet and 2 vowels, the A and the I. That's the I sound, the rest of them are A's. So A, Ba, Da, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, Ta, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa, I.S.U.P.K. Za. And we'll use on the bottom line down here, we'll say Wa. Can they see that down there, officer? Pretty good. Wa, water. Wa, Ra, Sha, and the Tha. And so, on our qua sound, how it sounds, how it looks. Well, we'll make that a little crooked there. I want to go over this, get off of it, of course we did go over it. Did we ever find that chart, sir? And that completes the alphabet for the paleo. So we'll go over it again. We have A, Ba, Ga, Da, Ha, Wa, Za, Ka, the Ta sound, Ya, Ka, La, Ma, Na, Sa. I.S.U.P.K. Za. Then we have Qua, Ra, Sha, Tha. And if I remember, one of the brothers called in the other week and he said, does the Ha sound, the Ha character, does it have to look like it's all of the stems coming out of it have to look like that? Or can you do that? I've seen it in different ways, so just because there's not many characters that look like that, so that can be accepted on the Ha. So if you got your notes, we'll give you a second there to take them down. The 2 vowels.
Okay.
We'll give you time to write them down. Then we're going to go over the Syrian that matched to this. So the Paleo. Original language, just remember, Lashawan, Qadash, holy tongue. And in the classes to come, we're going to go over your connectors. Oh, well, we'll do that today. But in the alphabet, the characters, we're going to go over our Hebrew endings. We'll go over that also when we get to the Assyrian.
I have my shoes on.
So I'm assuming everyone has this. We're going to erase because we've gone over this last week. So what we'll do, we'll erase the paleo. And if you can roll your film back a little bit, and you can, just in case you missed it, you got it from last week. Roll your film back, roll the video back, and then take a good look at the characters, because it's important to write them down just the way you see them. And we'll try to hunt that chart up either now or next week to give a better way of looking at it. So when we were doing this, we did both of them at the same time, but sometimes it's not necessarily confusing, it's just that it may be a little bit too much. So there again, in the Hebrew, we'll have 2 vowels. 22 characters, Lashawan Qadash. So first, we're going to go over, that was the Paleo. Now we're going to go what we call the Syrian. So the language that we use in captivity, our language. The Syrian, just abbreviated right there. The Syrian characters, they look a little different. Some people kind of get confused with them, but with this, they're really not if you just take your time and to go over them. Although last week we went over the first 9 characters, I believe. Now, yes, and then we didn't finish the rest of the row. So we're going to go over in Assyrian. We're going to go over the first character. You have an A sound, an Ah sound. Will look sort of like that, like a stick with a stem and a little wiggly line coming out there. That's what that character looks like, Ah. And it will be, if you use it in a word, you can use like Abba, which means father. Abba, Ah. Ah sound. And the Ba sound, and of course in the Paleo, it used to look like this, but that's not the case in Assyrian. It's going to look something exactly close to like that. That's what you see at the Tanakh when you're reading it, where our writings came from a long time ago, years past. These characters is what you'll see in the modern, the Syrian or the modern Lashawan Qadash. Or even our oppressors, they've taken them over there. Now they're using these characters, but they're having to do something with them because of the way they pronounce them. But we pronounce it Ah, Ba. Pronounce the same. Same way. Ah, Ba. Give you a second to write it down. Keep good notes, like I said. If you keep good notes in the crucible of the Holy Matter, put it in a black book like that. Nice ink pen. Keep good notes. Before you know it, you have all the characters in front of you, and you won't have any misunderstanding of the vowel sounds and the character sounds. You will become very proficient in this language. The Ga used to look like this in Paleo, but not anymore. We have a Ga sound. Sort of looks like a kind of doing all this from memory. I don't have my chart. Sir, did we? Oh, did we? Use the Ga. I'm trying to write as large as I can so you can pick it up. Sort of like a walking man. That's how I used to remember it. Somebody walking there, that's kind of like a walking man with his head hung down. And it's okay if you don't remember it that way. Do you ever find that chart, sir? The chart, the Lashawan Qadash chart. Okay, yes, sir. Yeah, we'll get hold of that Lashawan Qadash chart another day, and we'll come across all of these vowel sounds and all of the character sounds on there. Oh, there it is. There's Officer Margaret that has a chart. That's the Hebrew characters. Thank you, sir. The water. See? Our officer's on the go there. This is a chart I brought back from Atlanta. But I'll try. I don't know if we can put it up anyway, can we, sir?
No, you probably what you want to do is
Can they see it that far? No? Okay. Well, we'll have to, for right now, And that chart, kind of, can you even see it there?
Okay. I mean, if you need to pick it up, you know, you can
Yes,
just pick it up.
Yes, sir. Sir. And then says we have a Lashawan chart there. Kind of shows all the characters. I have that chart memorized, and you too will have that chart memorized. But we're going to write out all of the Syrian. Then we're going to go back and do something unique. I wanted to get the Syrian so you at least have it down for next week. We'll start making words out of their Syrian. We'll start making words because I want to go back and repeat the paleo and start showing you what the connectors do, like I promised from the last class last week. So it's Abaga, the walking man, the hangman, walking man. Da, it's in the paleo, of course, it looks like that, but not in the Syrian. Not in the Syrian. In the Syrian, it's going to look straight line across like we did last week. 2/3 of the way from this side or 1/3 from that side, you would draw a straight line. And that's the Da sound. That's what it looks like. So if you was writing David's name, that's the first character in his name, Da. In Assyrian. Of course, it's a triangle, if not. Sir, if you do have any comments, you going to man the computer? If you do have any comments, come, sir. And then with Abba, Ga, the Da sound. Unique characters here. 22 characters, 2 vowels. Holy tongue. And of course we have the Ha sound. If you remember, the Ha sound in the paleo looked like that. But not today. Not right now. It's going to look like I kind of call it a pi symbol. We went over this last week, of course. And if you remember, in this, you'll have to go and make sure that there's a space right about there. Because if not, it's going to look like another character. If in the text, if you guys can follow with me, if anyone know what that character, how many people we have online? We have any?
As of right now, no one's tuning in online right now.
Yes, sir. Well, when you come in, guys, you can just tune in and go with the characters. Come with the class, and of course, if you may be busy in your time of day, that's fine. That's good. I.S.U.P.K is going to teach this, and we're going to read these characters so that for your understanding and edification. The Ha we had last week, we had a Wa sound that looks like that in the paleo. But in the Syrian, that sound is going to look like, the character will actually look like this, and it sounds Wa. Long stem, like that. Ha-wa. Okay. And I've seen that same character just look straight up and down, just one line. But of course, we go by our chart mainly because that's what I was taught of. That on that character right here. Right there, that character. Straight up and down with a little stem. And that's what we've done. Straight up and down with a little stem. And like I said, next week we're going to get this chart put back up here because we had it in prior classes. We had to take it down for reasons. The Za, if you remember, it just looked like a regular Z. Just you bring the character down, it just looked like a Z. That was in paleo. But in Assyrian, that character looks exactly like this. A little slant with a little line. Just like a lean-to house. Looks pretty much like that. I'm trying to draw the characters real thick so that you can have an idea. The Ka sound, the character, used to look like this in the Paleo. But of course in the Assyrian it's a little change there, so we'll say the ka sound will go like this. Now, if you're out there, you know that this ka and that ha looks pretty much alike. That's why we repeat and reiterate it, that you have to have a little space in there to make sure there's a difference between the ha and ka. Of course, this is a repeat from last week. That's why I'm going through it real quick so we can go on to better things and more things. Because you've already known this. It's just a repetition, because the more and more you do this, the more and more you'll understand that Lashawan Qadash is just a matter of repetition. Just over and over again. Over and over again. And of course the ta sound, it looked like that in the Paleo. But that ta actually looks like this in the Assyrian, our language. Something like that character. That's the Assyrian, the ta. And I've seen that, and of course, I've seen it in the Tanakh. It looks like this. I've seen it look like that. There's so many, well, not quite pronounced as a V-looking look, but sort of like that. I've seen that in the Tanakh. So they sort of look like each other. So they you can understand there's different characters will have variation over the years. And so the Yah, we're going to go over here. The Yah, last week, we had just a little lazy, laid back, as one of the troopers said, like a Z with a kickstand on it. But of course, that's not the case for the Assyrian. The Paleo looked like that kickstand with a Z, but the Assyrian is going to look a little different. You say Yah, it's going to look like this. And make sure that it's not like if you had a line going across your page like that, make sure it is up in the air like that. It's up in the air, because if you don't, if you put it like, let's say for instance down here, people are not going to know what that is. The characters are very, very distinct behind their placement. Where you put them has everything to do with recognition, and that's what we want to do: recognition, repetition, and back and forth, going over and over and over until you just can't, till it's in your mind, till you just spit them out. I'm doing this sort of without the chart. I don't really need it, but it's but you'll get to the point where you won't need it either. So the Yah sounds, if they're using Yahweh Shai, that would be the first character in his name. You have a Ka. Now we're going to do something interesting here on the Ka. The Ka used to look like this in the Paleo. And that's what it still looks like, of course, but that is not what it looks like in the Assyrian. The Ka sound is going to look sort of like this. This is why I normally see it in Assyrian in the Tanakh when we read it on the Sabbath class. So like a big old C looking at it. That's a Ka. We'll erase this down here. This is going to get in my way there. The Ka. Now in that Ka, it has something very interesting. We call it an ending character. In the ending character, it has, not all the characters have endings. So when you see this particular character that I'm getting ready to write, at the end of a word, it will look like this. Sort of like a glorified 7, sort of. You got to be careful. There's a lot of characters that look like that, but they have some variation to them. That is what we call an ending. So when you see a word at the end, and we'll go over that later on, you see a word like ashar. I'm sorry. No. Well, we'll get into the words later on. When you see the ending ka sound, you'll see ka at the end of a word. It will have that symbol or that character. We'll get into that later. We'll show you. And the la sound used to look like this in paleo when we did that last week. But no more. It has a unique look. So it looks like that. Like a 3. I've seen it look like this. Well, I've seen it look like this. But the variations, there are many. But, well, I won't say there are many, there are a few. But when you get used to them, you won't get fooled. You'll understand the correct way to look at that. On the chart, it's that character right there. That's an Assyrian L. And there's the ending character. If you can read this, it says above, fall at the end of a word. So you'll have to remember that. So you have a word that ends in ka, that's a ka sound, K-A. A K-A sound, ka. Not to be confused with ka. This is a short ka. This is ka. This is ka. But when you see that, if you see this at the end of it, that sound is still a ka. And go the next symbol in the paleo, it used to look like that. That's your paleo M. That character still applies, of course, in paleo, but we're in Assyrian now. That character now is going to look like this. Like a mountain with a stem with 2 legs. It's a weird looking character, but that is going to be your M sound, ma. And it has an ending character also. Its ending character, we're going to get some space down here. Its ending character will look like this. Look like a circle or a square or however you want to say it, but with a little stem maybe right there on the chart. Yes, on the chart. It says if you see that character at the end of the word, it is trying to sound out that ma sound. But you have to understand these characters are at the end of the words. They're ending of word. When you see that, when you see those characters, as a matter of fact, I'll use if you can see that, I'll maybe I'll write them in red so you can see them really nice. Can they see that pretty good, Sarah, over there? In red. And of course, I'll draw the M here again. And when you see a character in red like this, it'll be in black, of course. I'm just illustrating in red. But if you see this character at the end of the word, you see that character? Usually, it is pronouncing, it's trying to say that this ma sound, you wouldn't put this M here at the end of the word, you'd put this one. And it would still have the same value as ma. Or, over here at ka, you wouldn't put this at the end of the word, you'd put this one. Okay. We'll run it again. The na sound, of course, in paleo, just look like that. But now it's going to look like a, sort of like that. Well, like that. It too has an ending. It has a long stem. It sort of like that. I mean, there's many ways to do it. I've seen it look like that. But if you see that at the end of a word, it's a na. You pronounce it with the na sound. But for right now, we're going to use our red pen, and we're going to make that character look like this. Or what we'll do, that word is, we used to get them mixed up with this one. So sometimes you see them kind of slanted a little bit, or maybe with a curl. But that's pretty much how it's written. You see on the chart? On the chart, it will look like that. Of course, the 7 house looks like a bigger 7 here on the cop, but on the knot, it's like a skinny with a long line. So they look similar, but they're not. They're totally two different characters. Actually, really, this is actually thicker on the chart, so we'll make it thicker. And the sa, it's always in the paleo. Used to look like this, or still does. Of course, we won't use that in the Syrian, so that's why I'm erasing it off real quick. Don't want you to get confused. Now that's a character on the sa. Some people have it written, I always say them to not this way. Like that. Some on the chart, sometimes they'll write it real thick, and it'll almost look like with a lighter line there, maybe heavy there. But to me, and maybe curl up, it looks too much like that. So I kind of go with either one is correct on the side. It's just a weird way of doing it. You can use a chart, because if you notice, they sort of look like on the chart, almost identical. But the sa and the Syrian will look like that, or like I said, you can make them look like a real, like this, a little flat line. You can make it look sort of like a old, more of an old looking, with a fat line at the top. That would be a sa. Either one of these is acceptable. And then the paleo, let's see, we have enough there. Let's see, la. Yeah, good. And we'll have 2 more endings over here. Kind of get this out of the way for a second here, because we need some room to write. Not that this is an ending, it's just another illustration, so I'll kind of get it out of the way because I don't want people to get confused. You can write it like that, or just like what I had on the chart. The I character in the Syrian simply look like that. I'm sorry, in the paleo looks like that, Salakia. But in the Syrian, that's a whole nother look on that character. On the I sound, it would look, if you had a plane down here where you were drawing the words, it would look like that's how I used to draw it, right like that. Sort of like an I. When you see that, when you're reading it in the book, Tanakh, it'll look pretty much like that. And the pa was looking like this in the Syrian, but we're going to do something unique to it here. In the Paleo, in the Syrian, it will look like, let me space it out a little bit over here. Pa, and Tazah. Okay. That pa sound, very unique, Syrian. Sort of looks like a C, or almost like the sa. It's just weird how they look. I'm trying to get it drawn exactly right because I don't want to put my variation twist over it. Sort of like that. Then it comes out with a stem like that. That's what a pa looks like. The pa. And of course, it too has an ending. Character. That character looks almost the same except for one twist to it. It will look like this. Like they hang pa on a tree. If you call it pa, that's a pa. And like a hangman, they hanged it. So that's how I used to remember it. Not quite that long stem. But that's your pa. And that will occur at the end of a sentence. These characters in red, that's what occurs. Like if you was writing the word shapar, kazak. No, I'm sorry. No, that's for the R. I'm sorry. I don't want to get to the words. I'll get confused because I want to be able to write words, but I'll get into that until a second. Here, the pa. Yeah, I guess you can write it like that. When you see a P at the end of a sentence, end of a word, Salaki, it will look sort of like that. Not quite like that. It's kind of more of a curl to it. Sort of like that. Like that. And make sure these stems are long. I mean, you really ain't too many characters that looks like those anyway. And then, of course, we have a Tazah. The Tazah in the Paleo looks like this. But in the Syrian, looks a little bit different. Tazah looks like I used to draw it, I can't even draw from it by the chart, I used to draw it like this. That's a Tazah. And the chart has a little squiggly line like that and like that. Same thing. There's only these characters favor each other so much till you can't mistake them for anything else but the Tazah. Like if you said Katazah. And that if you did say Katazah at the end of that, in this case, word or name, it would look like this, Katazah. I seen it in the Tanakh, a straight line, straight down. Or on the chart, they have it look pretty much all like the same as that one. Pretty much the same as the Tazah up here. And it goes like a squiggly, straight down, and then a line up to the top. But only just make sure that line is really long. Either one of those is acceptable. And the Tanakh, most of the time I see it like that. Or maybe a little bit less slant. But that's what it is. So we have like we said before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. 5 of them that are actually, 5 characters that are actually, at the end of the word, you'll have to change what the character looks like. That's pretty much what it is. So we have an idea. So, and I'm not going to erase anything. I'm trying to go to the bottom of the board here if we can see what we have. Taza, Ipadaza, Manasa, Ipataza, Kwa. We have a Kwa. Good thing I ain't running out of room there because I'm running out of board. The Kwa sound and the paleo looks like that. That's not what we're going to do. Of course, you keep that in your notes. That's what we did last week, and of course, that's what I went over just a second ago, a few minutes ago, when we started at class. But now we're finishing up the Assyrian course, and the Assyrian, we'll write it over here so you can make sure you see it over here again. It's my abbreviation for Assyrian. It's the language we use in captivity. These are the characters. So Kwa, instead of looking like that Kwa will look like this. Sort of. Like that. Some people write like a thick, fat line up here, and then make sure they don't touch down there. That's the main thing, these characters. You kind of make them look consistent. I mean, I've done the best I can from reading the chart, but I just do these things out of my mind. I don't need the chart necessarily, but even if I did, I'm still learning. I refer to it just an illustration for the teach the class in Hebrew for our audience, so we can get them as close as we can get to them as being right. And the Kwa, then we have what we call a Ra sound. A Ra character. Not sound, but Ra. Well, we can space out a little bit further because we don't get too close together. We're almost done here with the 22. If you count them, we're very close to the end there. Kwa, Ra. So the Ra used to look like this in Paleo. Catch some variations to it. But in the Assyrian, it would look like this. Like that. And let me make it a little bolder because it's starting to look like all these other characters here. But what I used to do is just make sure it was like this. And curl it down and go and make sure it was thick because that's how I saw it in the Tanakh. Like that. It's a real thick and not quite as long. Well, not quite as long right there. Sort of like with a little stem right there. Sort of like that. Not to be confused with this cow over here. I know I said that to you, but you're probably wondering, they look alike. But if you really look at them closer, this is going to be wider and that's going to be skinnier. You see the difference, officer? It's a little different, right? I mean, it used to confuse me, like to know me, and I said, ooh. And I said, okay, let's get this together. So that's what I got. The raw is going to be thicker. And this cob, for the ending, it's going to be longer shaft stem, but it's going to be a little short, a little 7. And when you get used to it, you even reading it to knock down, you begin to say, ooh, okay, you'll pause and you'll say, okay, there it is. The Ra, real thick syllable, Qua Ra. Of course, we have the next character, it's going to be Sha. Qua Ra, Sha. That's kind of in And the Assyrian and the Paleo, it's just a regular looking W. But we're not going to vary too much from that on this particular character. Looks like I've seen it drawn this way. I've seen it drawn round. And I've seen it drawn square. The point is, when you see that stems looking like that, it will not look like this. So that's the difference. Say Shah, that's the Paleo right there. We don't want that. Any one of these characters, acceptable. But right now, we use pretty much, the chart has it drawn like, okay, a straight line across. Let's go with a straight line across. Not too long. Straight line across. And then it has a little line come up with a wiggle on it. Then it has to complete it on the other side here. Then it has like that. And then it does something interesting. Come about a little bit to a third away. Then it has another. That's what the chart looks like. So, matter of fact, let's just use what the chart got for today. I'm feeling chart today. Yes, sir. Let's use what the chart has today. Chart has a little line, starts off a little base. The best I can draw it. Then you draw the other side. And it's got like and then come about a third away from there and then draw another stem like that, and then it too will get the little wiggle. That's sort of closest to the chart I can get it without being a pro at that. Just trying to be consistent. But either way, if I saw that character the three ways I've written it, it will be distinguishable for one of the characters. And then the last one we have is Tha. In Assyrian. That's what we promised last week. Then we go to complete Assyrian with their endings. As you see in red, how many are there? 5 endings. One for the Ka, one for the Ma, one for the Na, one for the Pa, and Tazah. The Tha is a sort of it used to look like a laid down cross in Paleo, and that's what we did last week. But now it's going to look like one of these characters. Not that they're related necessarily, I don't know. I'm just saying it goes pretty much like this. Like let me see. Still got that same thick curl up to the top, and then comes down with the squiggly. But it does something interesting. It has a little golf club in the end there. That's what I call it. And that's the Tha for the Assyrian. Sort of looks like that. I try to draw that as close as I can on the, yeah. That's what a Tha looks like. As close as I can. So give you a second to let that sink in. Lashawan Qadash, Assyrian. Let it sink in for a second. And we'll move on to another lesson here. Because we're going to erase the board, so we'll let you guys write that down. That's why I took the time to write it real slow, neat. Give you about a minute. As you can see, it's exciting. It's fun when you write letters, when you write words. Connectors we're on next to show you how the Paleo. We're going to go back to the Paleo to show you how it's configured. And the Assyrian, of course, doesn't have any connectors. You just have to go with the word, and we'll get to that next week we'll write words in using the Assyrian, and we'll show you how to pronounce those or enunciate those. Really nice. It's not that we're going to go over vocabulary, we're just going to give you an illustration of how some of these words write out. As you're writing them down. We'll write I'm assuming everyone has this by now, so I'll erase this. It's all right, officer? We'll erase this.
Come.
Everyone has it down? You finish your writings?
Come.
Come. The officer's finished his writing. He's writing it down, so I'm assuming everybody knows. And if not, you can replay, stop, replay, and go over the characters. And say, okay, there they are. The Syrian and all the characters. 22 characters, 2 vowels. Aba, Gada, Hawa, Zaka, Ta, Ya, Kala, Manasa.
Shalom.
Yes, sir. I, Pa, Taza, Kwara, Shaka. That's the exact Assyrian.
Yeah. One second.
Yes, sir.
I mean, we can comments and everything, say everything updated.
Sir? Am I
No,
good?
you good.
We good? Okay. Now I'll erase the board now in the Syrian, and we'll go over a few words in the Paleo. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go over a few words in the Paleo and show
We got one of you right now.
an attempt
I'm concerned why it's not showing up.
to write out the connectors. So we'll see how to connect words. We're going to get too in depth with it. We'll do that next week. We just wanted, for illustration purposes, show you how the connectors work in Paleo Hebrew. And I trust that everyone has written this down in their little book. Like I said, you can replay it back again. Okay.
I'm gonna just check on. Well, we definitely live on YouTube. I said we definitely live on YouTube. I'm about to check Facebook right now.
Okay. And we have a word in Hebrew called beer. It's called zaquam. We're going to go, it's just for illustration purposes, you know, it's not so much to get too much in the vocabulary. I think it's Z, yes, that's right, Z-A-Q-A-N. Zaquam. Q-A-N, that's correct. Kind of ugly in there. We'll get that a little bit to wild better than that one. And in the Paleo, what we're going to do is a Paleo, and we're going to make a relationship to how the connectors work. In Paleo Hebrew. How do they work? Why do we need them? The word beer is translated zaquam. Zaquam. Paleo, it would be za, because we write Hebrew from right to left.
The dashboard.
So we'll go za. I'll make it sort of extra thick there so we can see it, because I don't know. Make sure that you can have the characters written out. Za, then we have qua.
Okay, yeah, so it did not. One second. It's on.
Za, Qua, and then we'll have our N.
Definitely turned on. It's saying the 1 second here.
Now, if you're looking at this word, beard,
1 second.
Saquan,
It's saying to
Za, Qua, Na, Zaquan. But let's analyze this a little bit. Za by itself.
Yeah.
So we use a character like this. These are the connectors. That means it is independently connected with the sound of its own. Za. Z. We'll let that sink in for a second. Za.
Facebook. Okay, there we go.
Okay? And if you look at this word, I'll use another color up here so you can see it. It's important that you get this lesson and understand it. As a matter of fact, I'll do it in a whole other color. Za. I do it in green. It's a nice color. Money color, you know. Something that I ain't got. Za. So, well, not quite like that. We're gonna do it like this. Yeah, that's a little better. And as a matter of fact, we're gonna write that over here, underline that in green, because the people who are wondering why we did that in green, or did this, we separated the qua sound and the N sound. This is paleo, remember now, because it needs connectors to make it work. Paleo Hebrew, not Assyrian. So what I'll do is I'll use another connector like this. That upside down looking like a U says connect this sound and that connect that sound and make one sound. Qua and Na, which says Quan. So beard, what my officer taught me to do, seemed like forever and a daydream ago. Za, Quan. The Z has an independent, we call it an independent, I'll write it down here. This is what I was taught. Independent connector. Independent of itself. That means it needs no help, just independent of itself. Za. However, when you want to break down and say Quan, you don't say Za-Quan, you say Za-Quan. Well, how do they know that? By these connectors. Za, then you connect these two sounds together, those characters, which makes Quan. And you have an independent sound here. Everyone picking it up, we'll give you a second chance to write it down. Independent, and then we'll call it dependent. They're dependent, these two, on each other to make a sound. Dependent. Well, we'll do this. Dependent connector. Independently pronounced za on its own. This connection here says that it's dependent on itself. Oh yeah, yes sir, you're kind of. And it happens sometimes, I understand. That's the technology that we got, right? Yes sir. But that's independently connected, and it's very important. If you didn't say that in class, you would have it wrong. Independently, za, independently, by itself, Z-A, za. Quan, this shows you how to pronounce that word. So we say za, quan. Well, that's the word. I'll give you a chance to write that down. And if you take good notes in Hebrew before you know it, in the Paleo Hebrew, you'll be pronouncing all of these. Now, if I were to write this word in Assyrian, the za, it'll be looking like this. za, and then we'll say a Q sound, a Q character, looks like this. And of course, since it's got an N, what do you think it looks like? Would it look like this? No. Wouldn't look like that. Since the N in Assyrian, you have to write that long 7, remember? That little, I'll see if I can chart it like this. Sort of like that, kind of rough there. Zakwan. Because there's an N at the end of that, you still, whether it's a word or a name, it doesn't matter. You still put that ending in, because if it didn't have if the N was somewhere in the middle of the word, it'll simply look like this. But this is not at the ending of the word. I mean, so it's not in the middle of the word or at the beginning. It's at the ending. So you must use this particular character that we had on the board there. And it's one of our endings. And that's what it looks like in Assyrian. That word. Ooh, spelled Assyrian wrong there. Assyrian, that's this. Paleo, that's that one. Of course, we're going over connectors and paleo, but I kind of like to draw the Assyrian so you'll understand what they look like in two different languages. They're totally different looks. None of them look alike. But for illustration, you know again, I'll reiterate again. You have this little upside down U, which is independent. It's independent on its own. But if you want to have the quan pronounced, you have to do the Q, A, qua, and the N together, which makes quan, the quan sound. Our language was unique. Made really no mistakes of enunciation, really, when you think about it, if you use those connectors. Now, I've seen those connectors. I have seen those connectors. I've seen one of our brothers use a symbol that looks like that. The same thing. I mean, it looks like a U, or you can use the upside down, going this way. Either way will be correct. But since I was taught, either way is correct on the connectors there. But the way I was taught, the connectors look like this. But it doesn't really matter as long as you guys understand what a connector is. That's the point. Like that. Give you a second, guys. Make sure you're written down. So independent would be dependent would be like that. Independent by itself, pronounced by itself, will look like this. Of course, if I make a mistake, guys, just chalk it up to a lot of words, a lot of characters. But I'm the first one to say, hey, I'll change it. Not a problem. I don't have that mentality that I'm all right. But I'm trying to reach perfection so that I can understand how these characters are written, trying to write them correct all the time. So, if you guys got the idea, we'll let that sit there for a second so you can understand it. Okay? And we'll bring another word up here, give you another about 30 seconds. Let it sink in. To reiterate again. In Paleo, this word, beard, which means Zy-Quan, has to have connectors, either independent or dependent. so you can pronounce or enunciate the word and its character. You don't have to worry about the Syrian over here. You all we worry about is that connector, and that connector, that character, and that character. If I see this, I know without even seeing this word, oh, that's Zaquan. When I go look it up, oh, that's mean beard. Now, how did I know it was Za? Take a breath. Right, officer? You can't just say Zaquan. That would be wrong. You have to say Zaquan. There again, the Z independently connected by itself, upside down looking U. It says it's pronounced Za. Take a little breath, then say the rest of the word, Quan. The Q, like a popsicle stick or a fan, and of course the upside down N, which is an N. Quan doesn't need ending because there are no ending characters in the Paleo. Sometimes it seems mundane that I go over these things over and over again, but then after a while they'll sink in your head over and over. A lot of people don't, some people do, but I kind of like to repeat it because in my mind, the more you have it in detail and memorize it and repeat it, the more it's going to stick in your head and you'll be able to enunciate these characters in Paleo and Assyrian. So we'll erase this one. We'll erase this word. We got a little time, not much, but we will write maybe a couple more words or just one word. And just for the sake, I'm not doing a vocabulary. We got a whole nother class for that. Just trying to do an illustration so you'll understand connectors. We have a word called beast. You know, like beast, like an animal, wild lion, beast. Just for illustration purposes of dependent connectors. That's what we're doing this for. Because I want this alphabet to sink in. And when we come back to class again, we'll go over the alphabet real quick, faster, much faster next time. Faster. Till after a while, you say, okay. Then we'll put, by that time, hopefully we'll have Lashawan Qadash chart put up. Can they see that okay? That's the chart. Take a little look at that. I'll hold it up for you. Do my due diligence. Next time we'll let the walls do a little bit of due diligence. Stick a pin in it, you know. Yes. By the way, my name is Officer I.S.U.P.K, Officer of 50, South Carolina School. Lashawan Qadash is the class that I've been assigned to go over. So I'm still learning. So bear with me, guys and women. Okay. All right. Beast. That word is bana. Beast. I think it's ba na. And now, like I said, we're going to do this for illustration purposes. That's why I'm taking my time on it, because I don't want to get into a whole lot of vocabulary. We'll be here writing words, which is good, and it's important that you write these down to build on your vocabulary, because that's all I'm going to do is build on it. Bana. Bana. Tried to write that as perfect as I can. No, I guess it looks all right, I guess. But not, maybe not so quite as long there. Write that in, upside down in, curl, beast, which means bana. Ba-na. Then it has another sound. We got to bring that H out. So we'll do this. Bana. Bana. Now, if I had students here, I would ask them, let's finish it up. But I'll go here. We'll do this. Like independent sound. What do you hear first? You hear ba. B-A. Ba. And of course, we're going to get into prepositions and adjectives, which will help you break down these words. That's later on classes. You ain't even close to that. But we're going to get there. We're going to get back there through my notes, and we're going to get through all that. But right now, we're working on alphabet and independent connectors, or characters and independent connectors of the holy language, Lashawan Qadash, with our vowels, 22 characters, 5 endings for the Paleo. I'm sorry, for the Syrian, I apologize. 5 endings, sounds, or characters in the Assyrian. Five ending characters in the Assyrian, of course. But for right now, we're dealing with the Paleo. Trying to do both of them at the same time, but ba-na. Ba. We're going to use the red marker. We're going to go over this ba because it is pronounced independently. We don't say all that word like banana or bana. It's ba. Take a breath. Then we say nah. So that means to make that happen, to say nah, to take the green marker out. That means we gotta take the N and the H sound, the ha and the na, or the na, ha, na ha, or say nah, and put that H sound. So we have to join these two characters together, and they will be called dependent upon each other, dependent connectors. That dependent, and that's what makes the word independent of itself, by itself. Then we get over here to the one with the green, the na and the ha sound. Dependent connector, ha, pronounced together, nah, na, ha, nah, nah. Ba by itself again, to reiterate, by itself, and na makes ba-na, beast. We'll let that sink in for a second. Write that in your notes. So let that build, because when we do the vocabulary, you'll have some words that's already there. But like I said, for illustration purposes, for the Paleo, Hebrew, Lashawan Qadash, we're talking about independent and dependent connectors right now. Give you about 30 seconds, let you write that down and let it sink in. If you have any questions, sir?
No, allow it to allow.
Yes, sir. Like we're going to have time for a couple more, just making sure, like I reiterate again, Paleo connectors. The Syrian have no connectors. What it has is 5 endings, of course, but of course that's a whole nother thing that we've just went over. But right now we're going to concentrate. As a matter of fact, I do it erase. We'll do the Syrian of that word and show you what it looks like. Ba. Oh, I better get the black marker here. Ba. Remember that ba sound, that straight line, the ba character?
Two.
We got anything?
No. Just just people checking in and everything. Yeah.
If you have any questions, then put it in class, let me know. Ba, that's the first character. Then we'll have a na. It is not in the end, so it will be like this in Assyrian. Now, if that was at the end and it is not, it will look like what? Like that, sort of. But it's not. So we just use, I would say, the regular end in Assyrian. It looks like that because it's not at the end of a word. And then we have a ha. So it's B, ba. Then we have a na for na. Then we have ha. Ba, na. Then we'll have a ha sound. We have, looks like this. We got to make sure we draw the character really to wob or a grade, and make sure you have that space. That's why I put plenty of space up there. I mean, most of the time it goes up a little closer, but that's an illustration. That words look like this. Bana. There is no Hebrew ending character for ha, so you don't have to, you just draw the same H that it is that you normally draw on the chart. There's no ending for it. There's no ending character. So it's ba na. That's straightforward. Is this was live?
Mm-hmm.
What's Facebook?
SHALAM.
Okay. Ba na. And it looks like we have what time? Let's see. Okay. I think we have time for another word. So we probably have that down all right. That was beast and bana. We're working again on the Paleo and Hebrew connectors. And we're going to write the Assyrian down and see if they have any ending characters in them. Here's a word that I like. And it's called beautiful. Beautiful. B-E-B-A-B. How do you spell beautiful? Yeah, let's spell it. B-E-U. B-E-U-T-I-F-U-L. Beautiful. Beautiful. Looks. It says YAHPA. Y-A. Not like your daddy, but it just says YAHPA. Sounds like it or doesn't.
Yes. B-E-A-U.
Is it B-E-A-U? I knew I had it wrong.
You good?
B-E-A-U? Do the Lashawan Qadash, but we failed on the Indians up. You think we?
For the Lashawan Qadash, then better than the English than the Lashawan Qadash.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There you go. That looks better. I thought that looked like to be beautiful. Okay.
Good, man. You're doing a wild job, too wild.
Go out of there. YAHPA. Just let that sink in for a second. They got Facebook.
No, yeah, we was just delayed on the Facebook, but we were still live on YouTube,
okay.
So we good. That's why you got that notification.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yes, sir. Beautiful. This means YAHPA. And of course, this is not our vocabulary. It's just a few words that you can put in your vocabulary book. We're just doing this. The only way to explain independent and dependent connectors, you have to use a word. so people will understand what you're doing. The only way to understand the Syrian and how those characters work, 22 characters work, is do an illustration of the word and show you where they are, show you how things work like that. Okay? So we'll use Yapa, beautiful. Yapa. Hebrew goes from right to left again. So that's the first character. Ya. Ooh. Kind of sloppy there. There you go. Yapa. Ya. Pa. So far. And then we're going to have that ha sound again. There it is right there. So we're going to have that little comb, I call it. Little Hebrew comb, right, sir? Little Hebrew comb. Comb your hair. That's what it looks like to me. Okay, now we're going to do a breakdown of the independent and dependent connectors. We're going to use the different colors again. We're going to go with the independent. Ya. The first Ya. This symbol, that character, is independently pronounced by itself. So we put a symbol like that, an upside down U, like this one, same way, it's independent, remember? Independent. Ya. And people can see it, you can understand that. It's okay if you see it, it's not Yapa, it's Ya. That's the first, take a deep breath. Ya, okay? Then you want to pronounce the Pa and the H together. And that would be called a dependent connector. Because they're dependent on each other. They don't separate. You can't say Ya, Pa, Ha. We don't want to say that. That word would be wrong. La, we don't do that. We say Ya, independent. Then we're going to take the green and we're going to make them join together. So we're going to use the upside down. So that makes it like that makes it sounds like this. Ya. And then the green we're going to pronounce Pa and the Ha together, which will sound like Pa. Like Pa, like daddy, Pa. You know. Say another say, you go down the street, say, Ya Pa. Ya Pa. And he hears you say, you talking to me, son? Ya Pa. It just gives you a little humor on it, but that's pretty much what it sounds like. For illustration purposes again, the independent connector. Ya. And you're gonna take a breath anyway. It's gonna be a short one, like a millisecond or maybe a half a second. Ya. Then you say Pa. Now if I said Ya Pa Ha, Ya Pa Ha, Ya Pa Ha, that's totally wrong. It's probably a word. It's probably some other word that I have to look up. That's not this word. You want to pronounce beautiful, you say Ya. Take a breath. Pa. Independent. Ya. Pa. The Pa and the Ha together. Let that sink in for a second. And we'll write Ya Pa over in Assyrian. There again, if it was imaginary line down there, you make sure that Ya, that's what the Ya looks like, the same as that Ya, the same as that Ya, only it's Assyrian. If it was down here, it would be wrong. Period. I don't care if it's the right letter. If it's down, if it's not up in the air, it's wrong. That Ya sound is pretty much one of the ones that has its own cloud base, it's up in the air, its own atmosphere. It's like off by itself. That's how you know when you see it. Sometimes I've seen it I've seen the Yah in Assyrian that looks pretty much like this. Just a straight down line. So don't get fooled, and of course, that's just the way some people write it. But the Yah actually looks like, we're going to do this. That's the Yah in Assyrian. It's like you say Yahweh. You use that character in Assyrian. Yahweh or Yahweh Shai. You know, that's why you have to make sure we write it. But we don't want to use Yahweh Shai's name and pronounce it with some other character. We want to make sure. Because all the characters have beautiful base. And I've seen this and I've seen it sometimes on a chart, it will have it looking like this. Like that. Either one is accepted. Either one. Of course, in the Tanakh, when we read it for our Holy Sabbath, we'll have sometimes it'll look like that. So, just understand. That's the importance of studying this language. So you'll understand the variations of the characters. So you'll be a quick read, quick study, quick learner. So we're going to finish up. What time we got here, sir? 8:42, just about done. We're going to draw a pa, which is not at the end. So we'll go there and we'll go real thick and turn it down, and we'll grow like that, and we'll come off of that like that, draw a little stem, and that's your pa sound. That's that pa, that PA sound right there. That's what it looks like in Assyrian, of course. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Let that sink in there. Then we got the the last one. This will probably be the last word we do tonight. It'll be that ha. We got to put that H on there, or that word wouldn't be right. You couldn't go around saying yapa. Ha. You have to put that sound. Yapa. Sound it out. Yapa. Yapa. Because if you just say yapa, it wouldn't be right. We're going to have to give it. So that character is going to look like this. Make sure you got a space from here to there. Start it, draw that sucker down just like that. Yeah. Draw that little stem right here. Yapa. Well, in this case, since I drew them down not so far, we'll have to go back and pick it up and put it up in the air like we talked about. Like that. Yapa. Now, there are no endings. There are no ending sounds. There's no sound. There's none of the 5 endings are not there, so you just use ha. We don't have any, so it's just a regular ha. So yapa. And again, this word is be beautiful. Yapa. Let me get it spelled beautiful right in my notes here. Spelled that wrong, didn't I? Still any more questions? Any more comments or anything? Okay. Yapa. Hope everyone's tuning in. Maybe with a little delay, but we on some of the transmission. But we'll leave this up for a second here so you can get the understanding. Like I said, not for vocabulary purposes, although that is a vocabulary word. for the sake of doing independent and dependent connectors, we're showing you how in Paleo-Hebrew this word is pronounced. So the enunciation would be independent connector, independent connector. Yah, by itself. It's independent, doesn't need any help, just Yah. As you see in the last word, it was a Zah. Just by itself, don't need any help. To reiterate, Yah. That's why I wrote it in different colors, so you can see it. Then, now, since this word has an H sound on the end, we have to connect them together. And that's why we use this symbol, the upside down U. Sort of looks like a long time ago we used to write a short sound in a word. You can use that. Or like I said again, you can use a symbol that looks like that. Or you can use one that looks like this. Either way, I've just taught this way, and that's the way we'll use it for illustration purposes in this class. So these are pronounced together. Yah-pa. And then for the Paleo connectors, that has to happen. For Assyrian, there's no ending sound here for that falls under the 5 ending characters, so you just put whatever characters there. In this case, it's an H, it's a ha. So it's Yah, then the P, Pa, H, ha. They have no connectors. There are none. So it's Yah, pa. You have to really be up on your vocabulary, really be up on your sound. That's why it's important to understand both of the understandings of characters, the Paleo and Assyrian and Lashawan Qadash. Of course, one helps the other because I understand both. Makes it a lot easier. Pay attention to that. Yah, pa. Let you write that down for a second. That's going to be our last word for tonight. If we have any questions online, it was at 8:48 here. We'll just talk about, let's see, yeah. For those people who may have come in late, we're doing Lashawan Qadash class. Holy tongue. There are 2 vowels, the A and the I. There's A right there, Yah. And some words have, we'll use the I sound. Our chart throughout this course of study, we're going to use the Lashawan Qadash chart. It looks just like this. We'll mount it. It's the way I learned. After a while, you won't even need it. But for right now, because of the good memory, and it's good to have it for a reference point. It's not ashamed if you look at it. It's just a chart. I mean, you go at your leisure. We're not trying to take and run a race with this chart. It's just an illustration. People learn differently, so they write a chart down so that the words can be written down. So okay, it referees. We're so like that. Okay, we'll use the chart then. So everybody understand that, right? And in the crucible of the whole matter, the end result is learning the language. You're going to have some variations in those languages. You're going to have it. The point is, if you can memorize that chart as close as you can, you will begin to see the variations when someone writes the variations in a different way. Like I reiterated again, if they write that character down here, if they write it a straight line, and you see that in the Tanakh, you know that that's a Yah. It's a Yah sound. You know, I've seen this is a Ha. I've seen this is a Ka, of course. I've seen it written like this. We talked about this. Well, not quite that much. It's like a pi symbol. I've talked about this last Friday. It sort of looks like that. All kinds of variations going on. But the most important part is that you remember. Remember also another thing, in the Wa, and the Wa sign in Assyrian, it looks like this with a little stem. Sometimes I see it looking in the Tanakh straight up and down. That's important. Important to understand that. Let's see. Of course. Now, like I said, those three words that we just wrote, for illustration purposes, put them in your vocabulary. So when we go back over Hebrew next week, in super fast. Hopefully you have a chart put up. We'll start to write some words, even some numbers. We'll even start to do some numbers. We're even going to get into, before it's over with, down the road, we'll do the Lord's Prayer. We'll write it out. We'll write it out from my notes. But for right now, we're just doing illustration words. We'll get into a bunch of, and keep these in your notes because you're going to find out they're going to come in very, very handy. Here in the I.S.U.P.K, that's how we learn. We share information. We share our Lashawan Qadash. It's 8:52 now, sir.
You want to do the
Yes, sir.
The security announcement?
Yes, sir. So we'll leave it up here the next week. Well, I want you to take good notes. Remember what I said. You have to make sure you come to class with a notebook, a pencil, a pencil. You don't fool yourself. You're going to need a notebook and a pencil. That will be a good thing for you. So look at all those notes I have written in there. Just full of notes. Lashawan Qadash. That's what this book is for. And so now you have another book full of the same Lashawan Qadash. Don't fool yourself. You need to take good notes. Have plenty of paper. This book's only cost about, $1 in the dollar store. The pens. So we're at the end of class now. Now we're going to do the security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Started out 1 West 125th Hall in New York. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will provide and arrange. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. The tithe, which is a commandment, Numbers 18 and 21, Malachi 3, 8, 10, means tenth. In the Hebrew, on ma'ashra. We'll do that word on the board after a while. Ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord, the Most High, gives you, give to the Treasury Department or your teacher. Priest funds. Free will offering. For priests, it's not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like the upcoming holy convocations.
You want to check it out?
Yes, sir. The upcoming holy convocation will be
The Passover.
the Passover. What was it?
It's one at the top.
Oh yeah, that was that thing. Salaki, sir.
Okay.
The Passover. It'll be the Passover. The 14th day of the 5th month, Thursday, April 9th, 2020 at sundown. You'll see that in Exodus 12, 15, 51, Leviticus 23, 4, 5, 1 Corinthians 5, 7, and 8, and 2 Corinthians 30 and 17. The Passover. Don't forget the Passover. Starting April the 9th. It's at Westchester Center in New York.
You want to just tell them to just stay postponed.
stay tuned, get with your camp leader, make sure that you understand that. Make sure you keep a close computer or phone contact with your camp leader. But anyway, to reiterate, Thursday, April 9th, 2020 at sundown.
After the Passover?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Slack, sir. Yes, sir. Slack. Upcoming holy convocations. Announce holy convocations. Remind Akim and Akwath to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headbands, and scarf. With that, say shalom.